I finished the last chapter of the second draft on the last day of the second quarter, which was the deadline. Hooray! Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is CF Claire and I'm an aspiring writer. I just finished fast drafting the second draft of my contemporary romance shifter novel. I have a few other videos just talking about like the process of fast drafting this project and some takeaways from each chapter. So this is going to be the last 5 chapters. I'm going to just give a little bit of some thoughts, the word count, how long things took, and then I'll do kind of like a thoughts overall on fast drafting. I picked out 5 very short little snippets that I wanted to share from the fast draft. If you've been following along with the other videos in this series, then you'll know that I started drafting out of order a little while ago. So even though I had 5 chapters left this last week that I was writing, they were middle chapters. The third quarter is always the hardest for me, and so it worked out much better that I saved this for last. I have my manuscript open, and let's talk about chapter 21. This project was 40 chapters total with a very short prologue and epilogue. So chapter 21 was directly after the midpoint. For like a small amount of context, if this is your first video that you're watching about this project, I'll just flash on the screen the log line that I'm working with for this project, which I can't remember off the top of my head, which is funny. But chapter 21, that was in the protagonist's point of view. It was 1,666 words. It took 1 hour and 3 minutes. And I write in like 5 to, actually, I've been doing a lot more like 20-minute writing sprints, trying to do 2 chapters a day on days that are writing days, which are usually Monday to Friday for me, but not always. And last week we were on vacation, so I had 3 days to write 5 chapters. So the main problem that I tend to have in the third quarter is finding the emotional through line. So there was a bunch of like exposition of what the emotional through line is at the moment, right at the beginning. So very exposition heavy. The goal for this draft is to get a prose outline, a prose version of the outline, so it's not to like be good. There's a pretty cute interaction with a like preteen shifter girl in this, which is pretty cute. Some fun banter. And there's a conversation that happens with the protagonist and one of the love interest's friends that kind of gets a lot of information to the protagonist that she needs. And I don't know. I mean, she needs to know this stuff. I don't know if it's going to be him who tells her or if we'll just like have love interest do that. Probably makes more sense. But the reason we had it being the friend is because the protagonist in this version does not, at this point, like trust the love interest to ask them and believe what they would say. So we'll see. But in any case, they need to get this information at some point. It was okay. It was a fine chapter. Chapter 22 was a love interest point of view. It was 1,244 words and took 45 minutes. Again, a lot of exposition with his emotional through line. There was nothing particularly stand out about this chapter. It did what I needed it to do in terms of like getting to the next point, but I don't think I wrote it in this version in a particularly like compelling way. It was just very like here we go. Chapter 23 was the protagonist. It was 1,296 words. It took 40 minutes. I think this chapter was pretty good. There was some good banter between the love interest and the protagonist, which is something that has been like off and on a little bit difficult. If you listen to any of the other videos where I talk about that stuff, because so much changed in the dynamic between them from the first draft to the second draft that it's just like figuring it all out again. But I like the banter in this. It's really good. There's some really cute things about the town that come up in this. And the one thing that I didn't think got through very well is there's a situation that needs to happen as the protagonist is becoming friends with the love interest sister. And so this situation is playing out. And I really was not in the mood to write it. And I was really tired. And so I really, really did like the bare bones. So it's fine, but it definitely not doesn't live up to its potential. So chapter 25 was the love interest perspective. It was 1,058 words and it took 37 minutes. So in between that last chapter, that was 23, and this is 25. So in between that was chapter 24, where there was like a big change in the emotional like relationship dynamic between the love interest and the protagonist. So there's like again a little bit more emotional through line exposition now that things have changed more. And this was actually really cute. There are a bunch of dates that they're going on together as part of this like this is stipulations in this mating contract that's playing out as one of the plot devices going on. The date that's happening right now is like a super cute one where they're just like competitive bowling with a bunch of other cute small town shifter characters, and yeah, I really like it. I had not outlined what the date here was going to be, so that was actually kind of a surprise when I sat down to write it. Yeah, I like this chapter. And then the last chapter, chapter 26, that was the protagonist's point of view. It was 1,536 words. It took 45 minutes, and it was cute. I think it was a really good portrayal of where the love interest and the protagonist, where their relationship dynamic is right now. So I think that's really good. And there's more like small town that comes through. Like, for some reason, I had no idea when I outlined this, but for some reason, as I was writing it, there's someone or multiple someones in this small town who are like really active on the bulletin boards in town and like are always putting up flyers for like bee themed activities and cellos. There's like a lot of cellists in town. Like it's it's very fun. The date that they're going to go on in this chapter is from one of those flyers that they found at a coffee shop, and it's the protagonist's idea because she thinks that the love interest would hate going and doing this, but it's dance for the bees, learn to communicate with nature's number one miracle, which I thought was pretty fun. Yeah, I think this chapter did a good job doing what it needed to do. That was the last chapter. The manuscript is at 51,423 words, which is more than I thought I would do for the second draft. I mean, this is like a really underwriting sort of project that I had in mind. So I was thinking like, I mean, there's no way to do it without it being 40,000 words. So that was like the goal. I'm really pleased with this draft, even though it is a rough draft. I'm definitely happy that I fast drafted it. I'm going to put on the screen a graphic that I made that shows like from all the other videos that I did on each chapter, the star rating that I gave them. And you can see there's like a fair amount of chapters that were 3 stars or up. Like most of them were. So I'm really happy with that. I think this version is so much closer to the idea that I had in my head originally that just translated in a confusing way to the page in the first draft. So, yes, even though the prose quality is like lamentable, the underlying story is so much closer that I'm thrilled. I had a great experience fast drafting, and I'll definitely continue it. I think it works really well with my process. I just really do well with outlining a story down to the scene level and then assigning those scenes to chapters, having lots of bullet points about other things that happen in the scene. I do really well using that to then fast draft. So I'm really hoping that with all the stuff that I've learned on this particular project and all of the troubles I have had with it, which I have documented much of, I'm really hoping that the quality that I came up with for the second draft of Project Chance is kind of what I could expect from a first draft of another project going into it knowing what I know now. So fingers crossed. That would be great. I would be curious, especially if anyone else has ever fast drafted, what you thought of the process or like how you handled it. And specifically, like if you liked it and you were a discovery writer or more of an outliner. I'm just kind of curious. I definitely would have had a terrible time trying to fast draft without an outline. I think that's kind of like what I've done in the past, not having an outline, and it's really grueling. but this was fun. I narrowed down my top 5 favorite little snippets from this second draft. I will be honest, there was no like single line where I was like, oh, I could do like my top 5 favorite lines. Like the prose isn't there to do that. But snippets. I hope your writing is going well. I hope life is going well, and I'll see you in the next video.